I'm super happy to introduce you today to CaseScan and its capabilities. But before I do that, I just want to tell you one thing. As you can tell by my accent, I'm not from around here, okay?
No.
No. It took you by surprise, right?
Yes.
So I'm actually from Israel.
Energized.
And in Israel, we are very accustomed to being interrupted all the time, okay? So if you have any question or anything you would like to know, please stop me and ask me as it comes to mind, okay? Because I have it this way, so I can be more, accurate and focused to what you guys want to know. Okay? Awesome. So before I'll speak about CaseScan, the AI tool that can identify CSAM, both known and unknown CSAM, I want to speak about NetSpark so you get a glimpse on where we come from and what we do and why are we such a unique company and develop such a unique solution. So first of all, NetSpark was established over a decade ago, approximately 15 years by now, and we actually started as to develop an internet filter that was supposed to provide safe internet for religious people that wanted to access the internet, but use it in their own way according to their beliefs. Okay, this is super important because imagine that we catered grown-ups, they wanted to get safe internet, and we had to develop a solution that wouldn't interfere with the way that they conduct their day-to-day routine, right? So if they want to get into a bank or do anything else, we need to filter the bad, okay, and leave the good. And we needed to find a way to do that in a manner that wouldn't disrupt their daily routine. So we developed AI solution. We started out as doing everything manually, and as internet evolved, we needed to find automation. So we developed AI and worked on that long before anybody ever called it AI. Okay, so we developed algorithms that can identify nudity, pornography, and 20,000 categories, okay, starting from guns, weapons, drugs, license plates, and other things. And we did it in a manner that is both efficient, so we take very few resources from the computer. It doesn't need a huge server farm working behind it. It doesn't need very, top-notch computers. It can work on a cell phone, on a computer, pretty basic stuff, okay? And the AI that we developed also works on videos, images, and text. And we actually find a way to do it super efficiently, and we can provide results super fast. Because imagine people that are using the internet and they need results now. They can't wait to get the results in 30 seconds or 5 minutes. They want to surf to a specific website now, and they need a response immediately. So our algorithms know to provide results immediately. And when I say immediately, I'm talking about near real-time results. Okay, so just as an example, in videos, an hour-long video, in order to identify pornography, you can analyze it in 0.7 seconds. In order to find CSAM in a video, we take approximately 1.7 seconds for an hour-long video. So this is how fast the algorithms really are. Of course, the technology is patent protected. Okay, we have multiple patents on the technology and how we analyze images and videos, and we support multiple operating systems. So think about an internet filter that needs to be installed on multiple devices, multiple operating systems. So if it has an operating system, we know what to work with. And this is super important to understand our capability to triage phones and computers, and we'll discuss that in a few minutes. We are also working with tech giants in order to provide us special access to key components in the devices. So Apple, Samsung, Xiaomi, all of these giants provide us with special access to the key components of the devices, and we use them in order to provide our services. Any questions so far, guys? Great. So NetSpark works in 4 different verticals. And the first one is NetSpark for families. This is where we came from, developing parental controls and internet filters. We actually have 2 brands. One of them is called NetSpark Mobile, which caters religious people. The other one called Canopy.us. This is a subsidiary we established here in the US, and we already have approximately 30,000 users We just launched it and the numbers are growing. We also have a solution for schools. In Israel, we won a tender with the Ministry of Education where we serve more than 90% of the schools in Israel. So basically, every school in Israel gets filtered internet thanks to our technology. The third one is Nespo for user-generated content companies. We use the same algorithms that we developed, and we provide user-generated content companies with filtering capabilities. So we clean the platforms from unwanted materials like CSAM and other things that our customers request. The fourth one is CaseScan, which is our solution for law enforcement. And basically, if you look at all these verticals, you think that this company is crazy. How can one company deal with 4 different verticals that there's nothing that connects between all of them? But the truth is that all of these verticals are intertwined because one benefits the other. And any advancement in one vertical advances the other. I just want to give you an example for that. Our sister company is called Internet Remote, which is the 4th largest ISP. They use our technologies to filter the internet that goes through their service. So basically, we cater millions of users, and our algorithms are being used by millions of users on a daily basis. And they are being trained on a daily basis on new and live materials all the time. So every advancement that we make training these models on the ISP side, CaseScan eventually benefits from it. So we have many other examples, and this is what makes us so unique, because our algorithms are actually being used on a daily basis on a large scale. And our sister company is not the only ISP using our solutions. So it's quite unique. So now we get to CaseScan. When we started doing the lead actually met the head of the cybersecurity unit in the Israeli police. And he said, you know, I look at your technology and your abilities, and I think that you can develop a tool that will really benefit law enforcement. He says, if you can do whatever you do on the server level, and the internet level, if you can do it on a computer or a cell phone or an extraction, and do it as fast as you do it and as accurate as you do it, this could be really great. So we actually decided to try if we can do it. And 4 years ago, we actually got into this field, and we started to learn everything about it. The first thing we did was to get a permit from the Israeli government to train our AI on actual CSAM. So our AI that is already very accurate and very fast was trained on actual materials. And this is why it is very accurate in identifying CSAM. Add to that the ability to train it on a daily basis on millions of images and videos that flow through the ISP, and you get a mechanism that always updates and gets better every day. And when we started to look at the challenges that you guys as law enforcement face, we found quite a handful of challenges that we thought would be help. You guys know it better than me, right? You have a backlog, an enormous backlog, both of forensic cases, right? And in the cases that you didn't even start to deal with, you need to prioritize this backlog. You need to work both on the lab and on scene and prioritize devices. And when you are triaging, you are going to a search warrant, you pick up all the devices instead of taking the 2 that you need, and then you have a backlog in the lab, and you don't have enough time, and you're understaffed. It doesn't really, right? Eventually, you guys burn out and suffer, fatigue and the adverse effects and everything. And we thought that we can really help. Today, you perform your job either manually or semi-manually. You either view the extracted images one by one, it is slow, inefficient, and it's tiresome. Or you can do it by hash matching and compare with Project Vic or other hash databases that you have, and hash all the data that you get from the suspect, try to match it and identify it. The problem is that it is very limited, right? It is limited to raw materials, and you can circumvent it very easily. So we thought that we could really solve that. How? Using AI. So tomorrow, after you guys get out of here and get a CaseScan free trial, you'll be able to triage devices both in the lab and on scene and get results very fast while relying on AI. You'll be able to do it in the lab and prioritize the devices that you want to look into, or you can do it in the field and actually take and confiscate the relevant devices instead of taking everything. And I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to triage your mobile phone or an iPad that I have there, and you'll see just how fast you can get the results. Any questions? Remember, I need it, okay? So if I'm trying to summarize the advantages of CaseScan before we delve into the screens itself and how it works, CaseScan can identify all system generations, both known system and new production. And it does that because it's an AI. It's not comparing hash values, it's not comparing skin tones, ages, anything. It's an AI that was trained specifically to identify system. It is super fast. I will actually explain how it could be. But I told you before that our algorithms can scan for an hour-long video in 0.7 to 1.7 seconds. So we exploit that for CaseScan. And we did another thing that allows you to work pretty much immediately after the scan starts, and you don't need to wait until the end. CaseScan is also accurate because it was trained on actual CSAM, and it is safe. We know that you guys are exposed to horrific materials, and we wanted to reduce the exposure and to minimize it as much as we can. So we added built-in features that help reduce the exposure, and you'll see that immediately. And the last thing is that CaseScan is not connected to the internet. It works strictly on the edge. And you see my computer there is not connected to the internet, and I'm going to show you how CaseScan can work without anything. And this is one of the advantages. We found a way to run an AI using the edge without any huge server farm standing behind it. So you can actually take a laptop with you to the field or work with it in the lab. You don't care. And we don't have any visibility into the materials that you load into it. We have no clue what's going on there. In addition, we found out that CaseScan can be used for self-rolling returns. We have customers that we call them partners, that they upload self-rolling returns that are very big. One even did it with 6.8 terabytes of data, and CaseScan went through it and actually showed him exactly what he was looking for. And he did it very fast. He did it in a few hours instead of going through manually 6.8 terabytes, which takes a long time. So let's now, I'm going to show you now some screens from CaseScan, and I'm going to show you the main functionality, and then I'm going to show you a live demo of the tool, okay? So please guys, fire away any question that you might have. Okay. So this is not the right version of the presentation, but never mind. When you want to create, because I created the new presentation for this event. So we want to create a new case. We can decide whether we want to triage your mobile phone, or we want to work on a forensic ISO, okay, or the forensic image. It can be a UFDR, a UFDX, CD file, RAW file, zip file, whatever. Or we can even attach physical drives or external drives, whatever. CaseScan can take anything, okay? Once you do that, you can create a new case, give it the case number, start working on new case. This is actually one of the most important screens in CaseScan. It actually lets you understand what is the process that CaseScan is now going through. And this is where most of the things that we do. Okay, so you can see on the upper left side the total number of files that we find. And this number always comes up as a scan continues. Okay, it's always updated. In addition, you can see the images and number of videos that we identify, and even what we think on each and every one. How many of them contain CSAM how many of them contain likely system and very likely system. Okay, so you immediately get a snapshot of what the situation with the suspect now. In phase one, as you can see, we have 6 phases. We've broken down the scanning phase into the tiniest pieces of analysis that we could in order to provide you with the results as fast as we can. So in each and every phase, we will be looking for a specific type of files, of media, and then we will shoot it to the AI. And once we do that, you get initial results, okay? So the second that the AI identifies content, media, this button appears, and you can start working on your case. So instead of waiting for an hour, 2, or days before you can even start working on your case, with CaseScan you can wait a few minutes and start working on it. Because I know that today you take a UFDX or a zip file or whatever, you load it into whatever software that you're using, and you go home for the weekend, and then you come back on Monday and you work on it, right? So with CaseScan you don't need to do that. You can load it up and wait a few minutes and actually start working on the case. Jared here can tell you his experience about it when I'll give him some time to speak. So in the first phase, we will be looking at known media file extensions. So WebPages, AVIs, all the image and video files that you might think of. In the second phase, we will be looking at unknown media file extensions. So let's say you have an AVI or an MPEG and somebody renamed it. We will be looking at file headers. And then if we identify that this is a media file, CaseScan will scan it, and you will see the results. On the third phase, we will be looking at archives. So zips, office files, PDFs, and stuff like that. On the fourth phase, we will be looking for exit data. We'll extract the information and calculate hash values for videos. Hash values for images is done on the fly in phases 1, 2, and 3. On phase 5, we will recover deleted files. This is actually a physical recovery of the files, okay? So this is a tedious process and it takes a long time, and this is why I skipped it here. You actually have a choice to make whether you want us to do it or not. As you know better than me, this is carving, okay, or physically recovering data from drive. It takes a long time, okay? And it can only be done by a physical image of the drive. If you have a logical extraction, we cannot do anything, okay? So either way, you're gonna see that even if you decided to recover deleted files and redo it, and it's a long process, you don't need to wait for it to end. Because as I mentioned before, you can start working on a case even on phase 1, and you'll see when I'll show you the triage process. And the last thing that we do is we look for duplicates. Right now we look for binary duplicates, and we'll combine all of those together. And this is the last phase. So if you start your work in the first and second phase, you'll see duplicates. But when you get to the 6th phase, we will merge them together. And when you'll be able to click on a specific file, and you'll see one of the duplicates, and it will show you all of the others, their location. Questions?
Can you skip the duplicates phase, like if I'm just trying to get probable cause quickly?
We didn't do it as a skippable phase, but it's not so relevant because by the time it gets here, you are no longer
previewing by then anyway, right?
You can preview that here. You don't need to wait until you are here. And if you don't want to do that, you can start the scan anytime you want and create a report. So let's say that you are now triaging on sync, and you see some here. You can start the scan, generate a report, and you're done. Any other question?
How deep does it go for deleted files if it's on a phone or a laptop? If it's just been initially deleted, but it's still in your recently deleted or still in your trash bin, is it recovered from there only, or is it even if it's wiped from there, is it still recovered?
This is physical recovery, so this is counted. Okay, this is not changing the dollar sign in the recycle bin and get it back.
You'll get the stuff. You'll get the stuff that you're asking about. Where it's really handy and I don't use it real often because it's super time intensive, is if you got in like a EO1 file or something like that where you have a physical image, it'll go through and it'll pull the slack space and everything, unallocated space and everything. But all it can do, like, it doesn't cover, let's say, since Apple now is refreshing their SQL databases so fast, if there's something in a SQL database, it'll grab it, but, or in the recycle bin. But with the SQL databases now recovering and the encryption that they're using, logical file recovery is getting really difficult.
So, this is the main investigation script. As you can see, the images and videos are blurred. This is actually the feature that we added in order to reduce exposure. We don't want you to be exposed to materials you don't want to be exposed to. And you actually can control the blur level. I'll show it to you also in the library. So you can remove it completely or take it to the maximum. And when you hover with the mouse over the image, you'll see that what's under the pointer is unblurred. So you can just play with the mouse and see different portions of the image. The psychological idea behind it is that we provide you with control over the situation. And it's you that decide to what content you want to extend it, if you want to be exposed to it, to what extent. Okay, so once you're in control and you decide to be exposed to that, there's other effect that you want to do. You can also change the pointer size. You can enlarge it, you can make it smaller. You can also change the picture size level. It can be bigger or smaller according to your preference. When you click on a specific image, you're going to see all the EXIF data, okay, of the specific image, including the path and everything. You'll be able to label it. Any label that you add is, you're able to filter the results according to the label data and generate the report. And you're able to add comments. And these comments, of course, can be sent to any person that will get the report. Next thing is, I want you to see how we treat videos. So you can filter results by images or videos. And when you filter by video, you'll see a screen like that. So you'll be able to play the video from within CaseScan. But we don't think that you need to do that, because what we do for you is that we pass the video to its frames. And we take out repetitive frames. And then you're going to see here only unique frames that contain the content that you're already interested in. Okay, so you'll be able to browse through the frames and get a sense of what's going on in the video. You know better than me that each second has 8 frames, right? But this is an almost 20-second video, and we extracted only 5 frames. The reason for that is that the frames are too similar to one another. So the AI removed redundant ones. So it left only key frames, and you can understand exactly what's going on only by looking at 7 frames instead. Okay? It's super important to stress that you do this analysis only for the first 20 minutes of the video. And the reason for that is that we know that CaseScan videos are usually a few seconds long or a few short minutes long. So we asked law enforcement, like our friend here and others, what would be a good time to stop the scanning? So they said, you know what, stop scanning after 10 minutes, it would be good enough. So we decided to double it into 20 minutes. So we performed the scan up until the 21st minute. If you have a longer video and you want to see what happens after that, you need to manually review that. And for that matter, we added a filter, a video duration filter that allows you to click it and see videos that are longer than 20 minutes. I think that I'm going to show you now the most important filter of CaseScan, okay? This is actually the CSAM filter. And we recently added a very interesting capability for that filter. So you know that this is an AI that is looking through the entire content. It can identify both known CSAM and new productions. But we wanted to make it even easier for you. So we added the V categorizer to the AI. And we added three buttons. The first button will show you all the CSAM that Project Vic that is in Project Vic database, okay? And the CSAM that CaseScan found. It will show you everything. With another click of a button, you'll see only Project Vic identified CSAM. With another click of a button, you'll see the residual CSAM that CaseScan found and couldn't be found in Project Vic's database. So that means that this is the new productions of first generation CSAM that CaseScan found and is not in the database. Okay, so what you did before that, prior to that, you worked over the entire CSAM dataset that you found, you hashed everything, and then you compared between the hash values, and then you could see the residual, right? Am I correct? So with the click of a button here, we do it for you. So immediately you know who you're facing. Is it only a collector? Is it a predator? You immediately know that. We also added a pre-pubescent filter. You can see it here. Once you click that, CaseScan will show you pre-pubescent children. When we know that this is something that you are looking for most, right? So with the click of a button, we trained the model to identify that. So this is very likely CSAM. We have two other levels of certainty of CSAM. It's likely CSAM and possible CSAM. Actually, we did that because we wanted you to have confidence, okay, and to make sure that you going through everything. So you can select very likely, and possible CSAM, and if you don't find anything there, you can pretty much be certain that this device is clean and you won't find any CSAM there. We also added child exploitive category, like Project Category 2 in Project Vic. So you will find Project Vic's category there, and in addition, child exploitive media that the AI identified. And the pre-pubescent filter works here as well, okay? The last thing that you'll see is that we have a nudity and underwear, minimal clothing filters. So once you will activate the pre-pubescent filter, you'll see children that, child erotica will be fine there. And we have a non-pertinent category. When you click it, you'll get all the garbage, as Jared says, that you don't want to look at. All the family photos, all the things that are not of interest, so you can filter it out with a click of a button. Any questions about that? Okay. So I think that I'm gonna.
I have a question. Does it tell you the file path where you can find it?
Yes.
Yes.
On the
I'm gonna show it to you. When you click on a specific image, this is that, you get all the exit data, including the file path. And you're able to copy that and go directly there. What I want to show you now, before I go to the live demo, is that you can create a report. After everything is done and you want to share the results of your investigation with others, you can create two reports. The first one is a report of the hash values, okay? You can export a CSV file that you can share or do whatever. Or you can actually create a report that includes the media itself. You can select the blur level, and you can change it. It depends on the person that is going to receive the report. And you can even create a folder with all of the media in the case. So you'll have a report and a media folder that you can send anybody that is relevant. And this is how the report looks like. You have all the information on the upper left corner, the person that created the report, the time of creation, all the filters that we employed, and eventually the media, the path, the exit data, and the media itself. I'm going to stop that now, and I'm going to show you an actual triage of a mobile device.
Is there a way prior to looking at the images and videos to narrow down your date range?
Yes.
Excuse me, I didn't hear that?
I was saying, is there a way to, before you look at your images and videos, to narrow down the date range?
Yeah, I'm going to show it to you now.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can do it off of exit data, or you can do it off of file system creation data too, in case you need to have one specific.
Jared, do you want to stand next to the?
I can
So
stand
guys,
wherever you want.
I cannot work the computer while standing here, so Jared is gonna help me with pointing out, and please follow my, the cursor. Okay, so this is a live case scan. I'm gonna create a new case now, and I'm prompt to, and I'm asked, well, what kind of operation I wanna do. Whether I wanna triage a mobile phone, or I wanna triage a drive, or a physical drive, USB drive, or a forensic image. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm gonna perform a triage of this iPad. Okay, so I'm gonna select mobile. Now, I need to input the case name and the evidence name. I'm just making up names. And I'm gonna select iOS. Okay, the system asks me whether it's an Android device or an iOS device. And here I need to select the target folder where I want CaseScan to save all the information it extracts from the phone. So I click C drive, and then we are good to go. I click create case, and what you see in front of you is a wizard that actually takes you step by step. This is the wizard. It actually takes you step by step and provides you instructions on what you need to do next. And even if you didn't have training, sufficient training, the tool makes sure that anybody will be able to operate it. So not only forensic examiner, but also any other person that is relevant. So the first phase requires me to connect the device into CaseScan, so I did that. I'll click next, and CaseScan will try to identify the device. And as you can see, it identified that an Apple device is connected. I'm going to select it and click next. Now CaseScan is trying to negotiate with this device. What it's actually doing is trading keys between CaseScan and the device, and this process takes approximately 1.5 minutes.
Does the device need to be unlocked?
Yes. So we do not crack phones. This is not what we're doing. We are an AI company, okay? So it needs to be unlocked before. So if it's protected by a password, you need to obtain it before that. So as I mentioned before, this process is taking approximately 1 minute or 1.5 minutes. And if everything is fine, like you see on the screen now, you get a green light and you can continue your work. If not, you need to come back and see whether something is wrong. Maybe the cable is worn out, or maybe you didn't trust the device. It should be noted that you need to trust the device, okay? And you need to do it only once per device. So if you connected it to CaseScan previously, no need to trust it again. As you see, it's already been connected to CaseScan all day long. I didn't trust it again. And here you get all the information of the device. And now, let's start. Yeah.
Will it show what the occupied memory of that device is in terms of gigabytes, terabytes?
You have the information here. Or what?
It doesn't look like it, no.
What, you're referring to what? To this
Once it
space?
connects to the device, will it tell you how much occupied memory is on that device?
No, but if this is something that you need to know, we can add it here. So we didn't get it by now, but if this is something that is required, and this is what I want to say in the end, but I'll say it now. And I would love that Jared would refer to it also, but we are very attentive. Okay, so we are working in our lab. You guys are working in the field, right? We don't have any way to know what you guys need unless you tell us. So we would really much, like to get your feedbacks, because this is the only way to get better. And this is the only way we got so far, thanks to people like Jared, that gave us very valuable feedback. So I didn't know that this is something that is needed. Our customer never asked us to do that. I will write it down and we will add it.
I'm
Okay?
assuming it's kind of to judge how long it's gonna take, like how much information you're gonna have to dig through.
Well, not only that, but it also could theoretically help to show if it's a new device or a device that the person's had for a long time. Because if you've had a device for years, you're gonna have a lot of occupied memory on it. If you just recently purchased a phone, there might not be a lot on it. It might show that they've gotten rid of their old phone, and this isn't an old phone.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
So I wrote it down.
It will give you a file count, and when it starts running, it'll give you a file count right
What's
on.
detected?
Yeah, and then how many of those files are actually media files, you'll see it. I get where you're coming from, I think it is a good suggestion, but you will get a kind of a feeling for it once it starts running.
Whenever it pulls, will it pull anything that's on the phone that isn't necessarily saved? Like, let's just say someone was forwarded messages or videos, it's not saved, but it is on there.
It'll pull basically, on iOS devices, it'll pull media out of Snapchat, it'll pull media out of, if it's a media file and it can get to it, it's pulling it. So I've had kick files, zip files, and while, and I'll kind of go over it in my spiel a little bit, while I've been sitting in the back of the squad car, been able to tell the guy, oh shit, I know you have Snapchat, stop lying to me. So it's, there, yes, I guess it doesn't have to be saved, it can be cached in a database, it could have been sent to you, as long as it's still in that database, it's gonna pull it.
So if they were engaging a conversation via text,
Yes.
or sent something that was requested,
Yep.
even if it's not saved, it'd be pulled.
Correct.
I have an answer for you, okay? So with iOS, you can expect similar results that you would receive with iTunes beta. So we basically do something that is very similar, creating a logical backup of the device, and we can have access to it, to all the applications and private information on the device with iOS.
Even the applications that are, like WhatsApp, which
Yes.
is encrypted and stuff?
Yes, yes. Because
When you unlock the
iTunes
phone,
backup
you
have
have
access to it, and we do something that is very similar, so we have access to it also. So guys, I want now.
Does that include the messaging services within applications? Because lots of applications
It
these days are
depends.
used for their messaging services.
Facebook Messenger.
If it is stored on the device, so Facebook Messenger, as long as you get it within an amount of time, yes, if it's stored on the device and it hasn't cleared out of the database or been cleared by the web service, if it's on there and it's in a database, it's gonna find it. It carves it out. I've had very good success with that.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna.
I was just gonna say, like with Telegram or Teleguard, will it pull from there?
Telegram, even on a good day, seems to be hit or miss for me. Like it really comes down to if it's still there, and Telegram, I don't know why, it seems like sometimes it decrypts stuff, sometimes it doesn't, and I don't know if they're constantly changing it, and Cellbrite's trying to catch up with it, or I don't know. But yeah, if it's there, and it's accessible, it's very true.
I'm gonna start the triage process now, okay? I want you to take a look with me on the screen. So let's time that, okay? Now it's according to the computer, okay? Because it's a different time zone. 3:22. Okay, I'm telling you that within 2 minutes, we're able to start triaging the device.
This is my favorite, one of my favorite parts of this product that really sold me is, when this preview button pops up, you're pretty much getting a live feed out of what's coming out of the device. And I'm not talking about it writes it and it analyzes it. I don't know the specs to it, I'm a nerd, but I'm not that nerdy. It literally is filtering the files as it's pulling them out of the phone. So you're not waiting for it to create the backup and then looking at the backup. It's literally looking at the files as they're coming out, and then it creates the backup. So when you hit this preview, or when this comes up, this is going to be somewhat, you're gonna see it here soon. So when this gets to about 10%, which seems to be like the cache point where it gets enough information that the AI actually is gonna start running on it, you'll see numbers and files pop up here, but this preview button comes up. And even if it's not qualifying into one of these, let's say you're looking for nude or underwear, you're just looking for something to give you an indication. When you go into the preview, Ori will show you that you're going to start to see nudity ones, because obviously when you put CSAM on here and you can't trick the AI into thinking it's CSAM like you can with rabbits and other stuff when we do presentations. So the fact is within 5 minutes of me connecting a drive in the field, I'm looking at media. And the media's already been looked at by the AI and categorized by the AI. So to give you an idea, hour-long interview, knock and talk in a car, partners interviewing in front, phone comes to the back seat, I plug it in, 256 gig iPhone, I figure I'm screwed, because how am I gonna look through that? We're interviewing, by the time we were done with the hour, it had gone through 92% of the media images and videos on the phone and classified it, And I was
Excuse
able.
me, just a second.
Yep.
We can now work on the case. So when you see the preview button,
One away, up there it is.
no, it's here. So I'll click on the preview button.
This
And
is what
while-
happens.
Excuse me, while the scan is being conducted in the background, you can start previewing the result, okay? And they will refresh every time that you click on the category. So when I click here, you're gonna see new results that are added as we go along. And these are the filters that we mentioned about the CSAM, likely CSAM, impossible, child exploited, Project VIC, and everything. So this actually took 2 minutes after we started triaging the device. And if, let's say, that obviously we won't find everything here, right? Because we didn't want to show you really the appropriate stuff. When you're done, you can create a CAD, you can create a report. It can be better within a split second. And I think that without any further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Jared, who has been a detective for Detective Jared Letcher, that has been in law enforcement for the past 20 years. I'm going to let you, Jared, introduce yourself. And please fire away any question to Jared.
I'll give you a little street credit and we'll leave it at that because I'm not big on history. 20 years as a cop, 5 years on the road, 15 as a detective, 10 for ICAC, 8 for phone forensics and computer forensics. Nerd by choice, always been a computer nerd, always been something I've really enjoyed. Can you throw that screen back?
Yeah, it's good.
So to kind of give you an idea, this is exactly what I'm looking at in the back of the squad with the story I was telling you. Now let me tell you this, I don't believe in one-offs. I really hate when somebody sells me on it did this one time, so I'm not gonna do that to you either. I'll give you a couple examples of things that I've seen and how it's worked. They don't pay me, they got me down here. I just really feel that this is super important. I started working with it 4 months ago when they came to our Wisconsin ICAC conference. And 2 weeks into the trial, it was life-changing. So that's why I'm here. I do care if you buy it because I really think you need it, but financially I have no obligation and no association whatsoever. So that you can filter it through however you like. But this is what I was looking at in the back of the car, except with way more nasty stuff. He was giving us an explanation that, hey, it's an adult in England, she's small bodied, she's my girlfriend, blah, 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 the same thing we all hear. Fortunately for him, and I guess us, after we were done in the hour, and I was able to ask him about these zip files that he never opened and didn't know what was in them, we were able to determine that it was a lot of small bodied females and Asian body types. So we didn't end up having enough to arrest this guy. But in the same token, I knew that 92% of the images and videos were already examined, and the AI didn't, whatever ones they flagged, I either verified were real close hits or ones weren't CSAM. So for me in an hour, I was at a point where we could say, hey, idiot, stop doing this, and kick them out the door and feel pretty good that I just didn't kick somebody out who was able to give us a 256K phone and say, yeah, good luck finding it. So for me, a lot of times that helps me sleep better at night because the bad guys are pretty easy to find, but it's the ones that seem to ride that line, which seems to be getting more and more with the beat and delete type style of CSAM accumulation instead of the old collectors that I was dealing with. So I will say that was a huge benefit to me. We've had it out on search warrant scenes as well. Typically the hour is kind of, it's a really good, if your warrant's gonna run an hour, or if you're gonna be doing interviews with somebody for an hour, you can get a very, very good feel off of what kind of media is on a device, where it is stored on the device, if it's zip files, if it's coming through chat messages, if it's coming through Kik, you can usually figure it out. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. I mean, there are ones that get flagged as very likely CSAM, and I look at it and go, that's not. But then I look at it and go, but I could kind of see why it was. Very seldom do I get ones where it's like, that's just way off the board. I don't understand why that's in there. Same note, it does seem to be somewhat sensitive to anime. So I always say, let's not over filter it. I'd rather see the anime because I can flip through 3 pages of anime real fast and not have to look at it. I don't really want you to filter that out if it's gonna make me miss something that I do care about later. If I run a device and it does not flag anything in these three categories, for me, I've run enough cases, about 14 terabytes of data through this in 4 months, I consider it clean. And it's hard for me to do that because I don't love leaving that up to a machine, but I personally, from my experience, am okay with it at this point. I suggest you get to your own comfort level with it, but we're talking, I will run hard drives through this, either triaging or full-blown analysis. I have a couple different kind of plots that I use in a workflow, and some of them might be applicable to you guys, some of them might not. One is an on-scene triage, which I kind of talked to you about. Works really good if you've got an hour, hour and a half, but you will, within 5 minutes of plugging in a device, you'll have data coming out of it that you can at least look at. 2, in-lab triage. Just before we came down here, we hit a house, 14 hard drives, 4 tablets. And he had stacks of Roblox gift cards and Google Play gift cards to the amount of about $1,500, and he was online and he was, you can imagine, make up your own story. Of course, everybody, including me, because it was my case, wanted the information tomorrow. And I said, that's great, I have 18 devices, how do you expect me to get to that information? One of his devices was locked, and we're not gonna be able to crack it. I use Celebrate Premium typically to gain access to devices that I don't have access to. Like Ori said, this is gonna classify data really well. It's not a phone exchange tool, but it also works great with hard drives and computers as well. So, what I would do is the hard drives, I would hook up through a write block, I'd hook it into the software, and I'd go start writing my report. And as it runs, as you can kind of see here, can you flip back to the active scanning part of it? There you go. So typically I sit across the room from my other computer and I start watching these numbers. And if I start seeing numbers pop up here, then I start getting curious about, okay, is this something I need to look at? So one thing is it will identify and go through the images before it starts popping through the common videos, mostly because it seems to just work with still images first, it's faster. So you'll see numbers up here. The numbers like we were kind of talking about before, this is a pretty clean iPad. It found 2,100 files. About 1,400 of them are actually media files, and it breaks it down that way. So as we go through, I'm typing, I'm watching. If after about a half an hour, I see nothing here, I stop the scan, I put it on the probably not gonna be my problem pile, and I move on to the next device. Next device, if within 20 minutes, all of a sudden I'm seeing numbers pop here, I'm gonna hit the preview button, I'm gonna go in and start seeing if it's relevant. This has worked really well with me with either coerced self-production or some types of stuff like that, because it's not working off of hashes, it's working completely off of AI, so it doesn't care if it's ever seen it before. So when I have self-production cases like that where they're being coerced over the internet, this works really well even on the victim's phone. But in this case, as I'm triaging the suspect's devices, I see it, I go in, some child erotica, some scantily clothed of the victim, the girl that was there, stopped it, put it in there, because I had some CSAM that I knew I already was gonna have him on, so it wasn't critical for me at that point to get more CSAM off to charge him further. So I took it off, put it in the iCare pile. Long story short, it took me 2 days of kind of running through that process as I'm working on other cases and typing my other reports. And I was down to 4 devices after 2 days. And those were the ones I imaged and forensically imaged, took into either Magnet Axiom to do like my forensic part of it or Celebrate Analyze. I still let CaseScan do all the media classification at that point. It's just I didn't stop it at any given point, I let it crank through. To give you an idea, I can do a terabyte drive, depending, I would say maybe half to a little bit of 3/4, mostly media, in about 2 hours. So depending on the speed of the device, if you're hooking it up, if you have one of those old rotary drives, it's gonna take a little longer because it can only pull the data off of the drive as fast as the drive lets it pull off. If you've already imaged it, it goes pretty well off of an EO1 file. If you have Cellbrite and you've already put it into Analyzer, I find that exporting a VIX2 2.0 file and dumping that in goes way, way faster because Cellbrite already did all the carving, and all you're getting is pure media. So instead of going through all of the operating system files checking for media, it's only looking at it. It's remarkably fast. I'm talking 15 minutes fast, to where I don't even start another project because I know it's gonna be done. And that's with 70,000, 80,000 media files. So, strongly recommended that way. The great part is, one thing that I use a lot is over the weekend. Typically, unless you have some type of automation program, whether you're using Magnet Automate or somebody's got a program that will take things and move it through your workflow. One benefit of this, reading so many forensic files, is I put 3 hard drive EO1 file folders in with 2 cell phone UFED extractions, pointed CaseScan at the folder and said, let me know what's in this. Left Friday, came back Monday, all in the, basically how the preview looks, categorized out, and I was able to go through it. That one had a little more like 5,000 or 10,000 flags that I had to hit. So it took me a little longer to go through the data, but that was 3 hard drives and 2 full phone extractions over the weekend when I wouldn't have gotten anything done. So the ability to do that, for me, especially if it's a lower priority case that I need to get off my desk, but I don't really want to use my work hours to do it in, really helps me kind of get back into space. To give you an idea, for me, I had 3 phones that I had used Griffi on prior to having this product. Took me about 8 work days, or 8 work hours per phone, spread out over 2 weeks because we never get to focus on one project for that long. And I had files, chargeable files. I put them all 3 into a folder, set case link on it. In 2.5 hours, it was done. It had categorized about 1,000 media. Took me about a half an hour to get through that. And in 3 hours, I had as many files to charge out with CaseScan as I did when I spent 24 hours on it myself. So 3 hours to 24, and I've done that repeatedly. It's consistent. You're gonna get a little bit more or less, but again, I'm not a one-off kind of guy. That's the normal. I estimate about 75% of the time I would spend looking through media is gone. So the ability for me to let the computer do it while I'm doing other things, whether it's extracting other devices, working on other cases, whatever, has been such a life-changing workflow difference for me that I'm here. Because other than getting me here, I really have no advantage or nothing coming back to me. It kind of feels like you got that secret tool that is really, really good. And in my opinion, I trust other cops better than I trust somebody who makes the product and is trying to sell it to me.
Thank you, Jared.
You're welcome, Ori. It works. I didn't even understand this technology existed 4 months ago. And I would say, if you get an opportunity to do the 30-day trial, there's no cap on it. I put 2 terabytes worth of data through my trial in the first month that I had it, because I really wanted to know if it worked. It's worth the 30 minutes of here's how it works, the video you guys will have. They'll send you the stuff. They'll say, hey, at least by the end of it, can you let us know if you didn't like it, what was the deal breaker for you? And that's the last I heard from them until I told them I wanted a license. So it's not beat me in the head type of sales stuff. The reason I'm here is I really do think that this is going to change our ability to get through a lot of data, not really mess ourselves up any more than we have to, because after 15 years of doing this, I'll tell you, and you all know, there's plenty of mental trauma with this. And I'm really kind of sick of hearing about how AI is making all of our jobs horrible, and it kind of feels good to take what they're sticking to us and turn it around and slap them back in the face with it and use it to kind of pin them to the wall. So, for me, that's why I'm here, that's why I'm talking to you. Please have questions about workflow or whatever, because really I want to answer the questions, and I've integrated it into my workflow as much as I can, so I'd be happy to answer anything anybody's got. Yeah.
This stage and then, you're right here.
Yep.
So for us, we're not allowed to look, like, I'm not allowed to see anything that's not inside my page. So
Cool.
right here, I wanna be able to start before I even look through anything, so I can't see.
So right here, it says search by, or can you
Yeah.
go up to file name there, creation date or modified date, start and end, and then there's access data or file system. So I completely agree with you that the warrants are getting harder and harder to get through that. So it definitely gives you the opportunity to do that. One feature I love, I'm getting old, I got big monitors, but if you hit large, it really blows it up. So you can actually see without having to click on every one to see is that really something that's relevant. It's a really, really, really good feature. One thing I didn't hit on that I kind of wanted to say is some of the adult porn that I see is as bad as some of the illegal stuff that I see, and how it really, I never knew people could do certain things. So I will say that I probably see 1/10 of the adult porn that I would have seen if I had to manually go through it and grip by. I don't see a lot of beach pictures or vacations where, like, yeah, great, it's the 15 kids running around on the beach playing. Don't see a lot of that. It makes a huge difference that way. I didn't realize how much that impacted when you're going through 100 pages of just people doing things to each other. It does a very good job. I don't know all the science behind it. I'll tell you that it does a good job of figuring out kind of body size and parts and where they are. Sometimes I'll get a lot of kind of close crotch pictures, especially of females, because I think it has a hard time figuring out, okay, size-wise, is this a kid, is this a teenager? But on those, I can kind of give them a break, because like I said earlier, I'd rather see something that's close than have it filter it out and me not see it at all. So, overall, it does a really good job. If you're ever curious, when I first got it, after I was all done, I went back into the unclassified to see what it missed, and I was curious. It's all the icons and the garbage that, I mean, it is garbage, it really is. This is something new that they're just adding in. So I asked them, I said, I don't know what this means, child exploitative, but I said, what is this if it's not child exploitative? So they're talking about child nudity. So more so the fact that if you have, like, I would refer to it kind of like nudist colony stuff or things like that, where you have naked kids, but it might not necessarily qualify as CSAN.
Naked babies.
So it's
Naked babies,
category
bathtubs,
project
erotica.
category 2.
Yeah, so it's all that stuff in there. So that's another helpful thing for me, because sometimes that's an indicator in itself. I don't get any of these hits, but all of a sudden I start pegging ones in this one. And now you can go in and kind of see, ooh, this isn't normal, I need to work on this one. Yeah.
Have y'all tried using it or had any success on like a voyeurism case where it's only like partial nudity and not a obviously sexual kind of image?
That's a good question. I haven't had a voyeurism case myself, but I can tell you from what I've seen in the results coming out of here. So cool things that I love. It could care less about skin tone, how much of it there is. Black and white pictures, it'll pull those or sepia or any of those pictures. In super low light pictures where I've seen outlines, but I didn't know what it was, and it turned out to be CSAN once I turned the brightness on my monitor up. It will, if you go under nudity and underwear, it'll have those. So it will pick up breasts, it'll pick up body parts. You don't get like calves and feet and what, it knows, and you will get definitely pictures of semi-nude. I've gotten pictures of like underskirt and stuff like that, it's flagged those and pulled those out. So, yeah, I think it would do well with that. Yes, sir?
Can I just say one more? Yeah, go ahead. Remember that they said that we started out as an internet filter for people, grown-ups who don't want to be exposed to inappropriate content, so this is exactly that. So underwear and nudity is exactly, people that are minimally dressed or stuff like that, and this is what NetSpark is known for. So for us, identifying minimal clothing or nudity is something we do on a regular
It's just
basis.
partial.
Yeah,
Mhm.
underwear is partial nudity. So it can be swimsuits, it can be, only shirt without the lower part, or the vice versa, whatever.
Could you explain the difference with Verify?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I'll speak to that right after.
So it's also, like a mobile device, it's also pulled from the SQLite database?
It is.
So, then my question is, like, unlock phone, they have Snapchat, but you don't have the code for My Eyes Only, but that's in the SQLite database.
But it's encrypted. It's encrypted in the SQL database. So that's.
If you have the password and decrypted it.
Yes.
And then you can rescan.
Correct. So I've already done that where I got a device and I'll download the My Eyes Only to everything. I almost forgot about this. This is a really good thing. And then I'll answer yours. So we've all seen the screenshots of like thumbnails, album thumbnails. One thing I will say I've had happen 3 times in the last 2 months is I'll be going through and it'll flag an album shot like that. And I started to wonder why, and I'm looking at them, and it went in and it actually found one of the thumbnails on that screen and flagged it as CSAM, and when you zoom in on it, sure enough, one of those is like a 14-year-old or a 12-year-old. So it's not a once, I've had it happen like multiple times. It does it well. I don't know how it does it, but it picks it out really, really small on there. I know they have one where they said they had a guy who took a selfie and the laptop screen was like reflecting in the mirror and it flagged the CSAM in the mirror. So it's pretty good. She had a good question, how is this different than Griffi? So I'm a big fan of Griffi. I've used Griffi probably the entire 10 years that I've been there and done it. So I kind of look at Griffi and CaseScan as on 2 different kind of platforms. To me, Griffi allows me to manually classify a lot of information and get a whole bunch of hash values. So I have 15 years of my own Griffi hash values that I've flagged. So it's a lot of time and effort. And as long as the photo DNA or a hash hits, very helpful. And I love their capabilities to like go through and hit a number and categorize what I want. So that's a classifier. Where the big difference for me is I still have to go through all the media and classify it. CaseScan does it for me. So the classification, instead of 200,000 or 300,000 files, I have 1,000 to go through, and it's already looked at them all and said, hey, I think these are probably ones you want to look at. So it's kind of an apples to oranges for me, and I struggled with that a lot. I really love it. I now use it maybe 10% of the time. If I have a ton of these unclassified files and I need to go through and they're like, hey, by the way, the guy's a drug dealer, or we think he's got guns. Well, I'll throw it into Griffi and then I'll start looking for guns as we go through, just because it's something I know. But it's a very small amount of time now, and not having to classify them at all, or very few, to me doesn't really even compare with Griffi anymore, because it does the work for me, I guess. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Jared, if I may, the scan is already done.
Yep.
Quite a few minutes ago, but I didn't want to fill your question. We've already finished triaging this iOS device. And if you export the report, I can show you how to export it. But before that, you asked a question, right? So if you have a cyber team and you want to look for a specific file name and the results, you can put it here, and it will find the file name in the results and show it to you. So you know exactly what you're looking for.
Can I
Was
search
that
by
the
hash
question?
value as well?
Currently not, but next version is probably gonna do that.
Does this have a category for the bestiality?
It doesn't. Is that something that that would be an option, Ori?
Excuse me?
animal sex, bestiality, because here's the thing.
A lot.
It is a lot.
Because they have a lot on their computers and you could like see the
So
branch.
typically where I see that is, the nudity category, because it doesn't typically qualify as a kid, so it
Right.
doesn't hit one of these. But if you go to nude, you're pretty much gonna see all of the porn on the phone. So if there's bestiality there, yes. And I know federally, I've had a case or two that goes and there's enhancers, BDSM, you know, child torture, all that stuff. I don't think there's currently a category for that, but you will see it here.
But there's
and you
also
can name it.
bestiality involving children because I've
There
had
is.
kids.
Oh, I
So
will
where-
never doubt that.
Where,
Yeah.
would it pick it up?
It'll pick it up. If it's a child, it'll pick it up.
It is a child.
Yeah, it'll,
Like a murder system.
100%, 100%.
Again, we can train the AI to identify anything, it's only a matter of data set.
If it's a child, it'll find it. Like, it really is like, can you do me a favor, Ori, and go all the way back to the case manager?
Yep.
Here's what I wanna show you about, I'm not sitting there with a timer wondering how much faster it is. It'll actually tell you when you started and when you stopped. So if I leave and I'm running 3 devices over the weekend and I come back, I'm not going, ooh, that did that in like 3 hours. I literally do the subtraction and figure it out. So when I knew that I had spent 3 days on Grify going through the devices, I literally came back here and looked at this and said, all right, now how much time did it take to do it? And it was 2.5 hours. So that's how I'm getting those times that I'm explaining to you. So, really all I want you guys to know is, if you can, do the free trial, make your own judgment on it. They don't hold out how much, and they're not gonna badger you about it if you don't want it. Those are the best things I can tell you. It took 2 weeks before I went to the chief and said, I'm willing to give up a different software, I just have to figure out which one, because I need this one instead, it's gonna save me an astronomical amount of time.
So this is exactly what I'm saying, thank you, John.
Yeah.
We are extending a 30-day free trial license. The trial, you'll get the full version of CaseScan. So you'll be able to triage mobile phones, you'll be able to work in the field, in the lab, you'll be able to do anything. We didn't limit it in any way, okay? And the license is provided, no strings attached. We don't request anything except one thing. After 2 or 3 weeks of you starting the trial, we ask for a 15-minute discussion in order to get your feedback. This is the only way for us to get better and to know what's working well and what needs to be improved, or what other features you would like us to put into CaseScan. So this is the only obligation you take when you enroll into our trial, and that's it. If everything is good, we can move forward. If not, we will not bother you, and you can continue to do whatever you did up until this point. Okay, so now you have 2 QR codes. And the left one, you can scan and provide us your details, and we'll be able to contact you after the conference, and then schedule a free trial setup, where we will train you for free and then issue the licenses and you'll be able to use them. Or if you already want to schedule a trial setup, you can scan this QR code and actually schedule a specific time to get this training, and we'll do our training event. If you,
I'm sorry, Mario. If you guys have, I'm a nerd, so I don't mind calling other nerds nerds, but they might not like it. If you have nerds that do most of this for you, or are people, and they're not gonna believe you. I'm telling you right now, they're not gonna believe you. Get a hold of Ori, ask them to give you the information for the nerd that was at the conference. You can come straight to my email.
What's the nerd's name?
The nerd's name is, so my email address is JLECHER @ I'm spelling. Manitowoc, MANITOWOC.org. So that's probably the best way to get a hold of me, but have them email, I'm happy to talk nerd with anybody who wants to talk nerd about it.
we see you have questions in the back.
Yeah, so we have a mobile forensics truck that has multiple computers, and we want to be able to kind of do multiple devices at the same time. Are we able to do that off of, or Or do we need like multiple?
It's a machine
licenses?
license, so it's whatever machine you install it on, you can have as many users on it, but it's stuck on that machine. So if you have 2 computers, you need 2 licenses. If you wanna run both with CaseScan.
What about the mobile version, is that for licenses?
Yeah, so if the license that includes all of that is. Yeah,
You're better than me, I'm gonna sit
I just know, cause I would ask the same questions, I'm like, okay, great, so 1, how much does this cost? And 2, how many licenses do I need? And 3, how am I gonna get my admin to pay for this? So I'll kind of cover all 3 of those for you. 1, it starts at $5,000 a year. Now, before you do that, cause I come from a 60-person department, okay? I'm not a big metropolis. My chief pays for all of our licenses. He doesn't like other agencies paying for them because he doesn't want them to have a say on what I do. So I do forensics for the whole county, between 300 and 450 devices a year. So, 1, I went to him with the numbers that I had after I ran a couple cases through that I knew how much time I spent on and how long it took. Admins love the numbers. When I literally showed him that, he kind of got white in the face. Then, obviously, the next question they always ask me, well, what software are you willing to give up in order to get this? And I'm like, yeah, because I went and just found a software that did something I can do already. Let me just give you one of my other ones. In this case, I'm not gonna name softwares that I'm going to get rid of, but through this, you can kind of tell one that I don't use as much as I used to use anymore. Love the product, just doesn't work into my workflow as much as I needed to quantify the license fee for it.
We get a clue or?
A clue?
Is it right?
It's what I had to manually classify data with before, that might
The
have
one that
been.
he loved?
Yeah, the one that I love that Megan just purchased, that one. Love the product, it just doesn't fit in my workflow anymore. So that was a good part of it. 2, when they say they'll work with you, that's the first flag for me in one of these after doing these for 20 years is when a company says, we'll work with you on price, and you're like, great, how many do I have to buy to get a break? I will honest to God tell you they will work with you. I'm not a sales guy, I can tell you that their true mission, and one of the reasons why I'm actually here is to get this in the hands of everybody. Not the people that are in my big metropolises, but people like me who usually can't afford something like this, and I'll tell you, I can't afford that at that price either. So talk to them, they will work with you. Sometimes it involves telling them what you can do and what you can't do, but I'll tell you, I have not seen anybody walk away without being able to get it if they wanted to. So it sounds stupid because we're in a very capitalist business, but that's one of the reasons I actually spend my days off to come down here and do this, is because it's legit that way. So I ain't gonna give you numbers, I'm not the sales guy, I don't even work for them, so I can't make you any deals. But stop by the booth, talk to them, or do whatever, get a hold of them. They're not joking on that.
I just wanna say one thing. The CEO of the company sits here, I'm the chief business officer of the company, we are mission driven. We never want that budget would stand in the way of you obtaining the tool and getting things done, okay? So we'll be as flexible as possible in order to make it happen.
Don't ask for free, you're not gonna get it for free. Right? That's a little too far out the range. But, yeah.
I may have misread earlier, but does it also analyze text, or is it just?
I wish it did.
Because earlier, I maybe misread.
No, we have AI that analyzes text as well, but this case it focuses on media only.
Just media.
Yeah, but if we will find that it's a requirement, we can add.
Oh, it's a
always add more.
requirement. It's a requirement.
It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
It's on our roadmap.
I have yet to find an OCR that digs through chat screenshots, which I actually have asked them, can you please have the AI find me screenshots of the stuff that got deleted in the app, but they managed to take screenshots to send to their friends. That's where I really do that. I will say for warrants, I know that came up earlier, warrant responses. I find it very helpful for any warrant response that you're looking for media in. It's not gonna parse out the chats and do all the things. Cellbrite, I've tried using that, it seems like it's hit or miss depending on what I put in. But I will tell you for media, sometimes we get these cyber tips and I want the Dropbox account before I go and try to get a warrant for the house. and I get 2, 4, 10, 20 gigs worth of stuff back, and I throw it in there, and then I know if there's more child porn in there or not before I need to get a warning. So Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, I've run them all through. As long as it's in a zip file, it don't care. It'll dig through it and it'll pull everything out. Did I hit your complete question? Because I know we were talking about price, we were talking about what I sacrificed in order to get my license. We went over that they actually they are flexible. I forget if there was something else. If I forgot and it comes up, you guys got my email, so feel free to reach out to me.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you guys.
Pass around somewhere.